Hello friends and welcome. My name is Britt and today we'll be doing my May reading journal setup and I'll be doing some drawings of chickens using these Caran Neocolor II wax pastels. You just saw a second ago my little concept drawing sketch in my sketchbook. I like to do that before I start anything just to get an idea of the composition and also sometimes the colors that I might use. So I'm going to do these drawings on pastel paper and then I will paste them into my reading journal. That way we don't have the dot grid in the background, and if I make mistakes I can just redo it. You can see at the top of this page I already had done a chicken and I just didn't like how that one turned out, so that was just a practice run. Just ignore that one. What I did was briefly sketch out the composition with a pencil here, and then I used water-based Tombow marker to do a little bit of shading in the background, and then everything else on these drawings is going to be with these wax pastels, which are like a really nice crayon. As usual, if you're interested in any of the materials that I'm using or anything else that I mention in this video, all of the links will be in the description box. I am using my normal style, which is doing things in kind of a scribbly, loose kind of way with a lot of bright colors. And I did remember this month to do the smaller drawings first and then do my big main drawing second so that I'm warmed up and ready to go when I get to that one. I was trying to not overwork that one, but I end up overworking it anyway, as I usually do. So in actuality, I like these two smaller ones that I'm going to do better than the big main drawing that I did for this that's on the thumbnail of this video. That is my constant issue as an artist right now in my development, is trying to not overwork things. And if you're not familiar with that term in regards to art, that's basically when you continue to add and blend and stuff when it would have been better to stop and leave it alone. And that is a very difficult skill to learn. So I'm just using a couple of colored pencils here to do a few smaller details that I just can't use the crayons for because they're too stumpy on the end. So things like the eye and the little toenails and a couple of little outlines. I'm just using a few colored pencils for that. When I was preparing to make these drawings, I got all my reference photos off of Unsplash, which is a royalty and copyright-free image site. So that's a great place to get reference photos. Now we're moving on to the second small chicken drawing, which is going to be kind of a pinky peachy color. It's really fun to draw animals that are kind of goofy. So chickens are a really great one because they're so kind of silly and playful and funny a lot of the time. Let me know in the comments section if you've had any interactions with chickens or if you've owned them before. They're just really fun to watch. My mom has owned chickens on several different occasions, and I just love to observe all their cute and weird little behaviors that they do. And having chickens at your home can actually be a really great way to control pests, especially ticks and things like that. They'll eat all those kinds of bugs and clean things up for you. Also, I know goats kind of have this reputation for eating anything, so you can give all your trash to your goats to eat, but that's not actually true, at least in the experience that I have. Goats can be kind of picky about what they eat, but chickens actually will eat a lot of different things. So they can also be really good for getting rid of all your household food scraps and things. So I'm just using a brown here to add in a little bit more of a dark value to this chicken. And also I'm using these colored pencils to put a little bit more of detail into the feathers. But again, I'm trying to not go overboard with those things. And of course, I gotta add a little bit of neon to everything, so I'm adding a little neon pink into these guys as well. You can see I kind of messed up on the feet of this chicken, so to fix that, I'm bringing in a dark green to just kind of do a little bit of carving out of the shape and refining it a little bit more. And then the fun part of doing the background is just kind of scribbling away and making as many crazy shapes and wiggles and things as I can. And now on to our large main chicken drawing. And I decided to do a rooster kind of strutting for this one. And this drawing is a little bit more than 2 times the surface area of those smaller ones that I did before. So there's a lot more space to put in a lot more detail. And so I do end up going a little bit too far with the detail, a little bit too much blending. If you are also an artist, do you have any tips for all of us about how to not overwork things? Maybe I should set a timer, and every time the timer goes off, I have to like stop and think about it and look at it. I don't know. Maybe that would work. Because I just get like so into the flow of using my materials and having a good time that I kind of forget about the overall look of things. Sorry if it sounds like I'm being hard on myself. I'm not. I'm just trying to analyze and see what I can do better the next time. I'm not upset about it or anything like that. So don't worry about that. I just like to see what I did, see if there's anything I can do better the next time. You know, learn as I go. And watching yourself do something after the fact on video is a great way to kind of realize what you were doing, because it's hard to do that in the moment. I'm also going to bring in a lot more colors into this guy than I did on the other ones, since I have a lot more space to work with. And of course, I'm sure you can already tell that I'm not using the realistic colors for these chickens. The reference photo that I used for this rooster was actually a white rooster. But when I get to the tail, I'm going to bring in a lot of blues and greens and some purples. I kind of had in my mind those roosters that are kind of like a copper color in the body and then have that iridescent green tail. So actually right here is getting kind of close to where I would want this chicken to be in terms of looseness. Maybe just a tiny bit more color on it, but then that is where I should have stopped in my hindsight opinion about this. And now as you watch me finish up this main chicken, I will be giving you a few facts about chickens from World Animal Protection in Australia and the UK Humane League. All domestic chickens are descended from wild jungle fowl that are native to Southern Asia and have been living with humans for more than 5,000 years. Chickens have interesting bone structures. They have more bones in their necks than giraffes, and all their bones are very light, Some of the bones are hollow and are called pneumatic bones. They actually form part of the chicken's respiratory system and work with the lungs to help them to breathe. Chickens explore great distances foraging for food, scratching at the ground to reveal seeds and insects. They will warn each other of potential danger and communicate with over 30 different calls. Chickens have object permanence, which means that they can understand that if something is hidden, it still exists, which is something that humans can't do until after the age of 2 years. Chickens form strong friendships, and they can recognize over 100 individual faces, both of other chickens as well as humans. They can also see in a broader range of colors than humans, being able to see further into the violet and ultraviolet wavelengths. Chickens can also demonstrate self-control. Tests have shown that when chickens understand that they get a bigger reward by waiting and not taking a smaller reward, they usually choose to wait. And finally, chickens have a complex social structure and also have different personalities just like people and many other animals. Some birds are bold and feisty, and others are shy and cautious. This rooster is done, and now we're going to move on to the assembly phase. My plan here is to glue the larger picture onto the right-hand side of this spread, and then I just took out the warmer colors of the Neocolor IIs that I use for these pictures, and I'm going to use those to make a couple of frames on a few different pages here to hold the sections where I'm going to write my statistics and calendars and things about the books that I read in the month of May. Once I get this rectangular frame done on the left-hand side, I will also be coloring in a circular frame to go around that rooster picture as well. After gluing this chickie in here, I thought that these corners looked a little bit bare, so I'm just doing a really simple little design just to spruce things up a little bit. And then once that's done, I will move back over to the left-hand side of this page and do the May title. I'm using a black fine liner pen to do the outline of these letters for the May title, and then I'll color it in with those same warm colors of crayon. And I just wanted a little bit of an outline on these letters just to make it a little bit more legible. Now we're moving on to the second spread, and this is where I'm going to be putting some statistics and possibly little pictures of the book covers of everything I read in May. So I kind of wanted this to be a little bit symmetrical this time, so I'm doing 2 more of those rectangular frames, one on each of these pages. And then I will be sticking in my little chickie drawings, the first 2 that I made in the video, onto each side of this. And because those pictures are so much smaller and I'm going to be pasting them over top of these rectangular frames, I decided not to put any kind of embellishment around those It would have just made it look a little bit too messy, I think. And then once I have those guys glued in, I'll do one last title. I'll do a little statistics title on the left-hand side. And that wraps things up for this chickie video. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate that you are willing to spend some of your very precious time with me on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I also hope that you'll join me next week. I'm releasing a video of me painting some beautiful wildflower art on the cover of my sketchbook. And things did not quite go to plan, and it ended up taking me 6 hours to do. So my pain is your entertainment. If you want to check out any of my other social media, any of my other art, the links are in the description box. And remember, please take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! If you liked this video, you might also enjoy this one where I draw a spring rabbit.